The following month, the Second Continental Congress convened at the Philadelphia State House. John Hancock of Massachusetts was elected president of the Congress. Military matters were the first order of the day, and the members took steps to provide a Continental Army and to select a commander-in-chief. John Adams, recognizing the need to unify the colonies, recommended George Washington of Virginia for the position, and he proved to have been an excellent choice. But the organization of the Army meant that the Continental Congress now had to take on the activities of a revolutionary government, such as printing money for the purchase of supplies and paying its soldiers. Conducting a war also necessitated a more permanent organization, and so the Congress adopted the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union as a new framework for government. On the other side of the Atlantic, the British responded by issuing a proclamation of rebellion and ordering 30,000 troops to America, supplemented by mercenaries hired from Germany. In January of 1776, a 47-page pamphlet entitled Common Sense began to circulate among the colonies. Its author, Thomas Paine, had called for the immediate declaration of independence from England. By June, more than 100,000 copies had been sold. On April 12, 1776, North Carolina became the first colony to empower its delegates in the Continental Congress to vote for independence. On June 7th, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia presented a resolution to the Congress calling for a formal declaration of independence for all the colonies to sign. The Congress appointed a committee to draft an official declaration. The members of this committee were Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, John Adams of Massachusetts, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, Roger Sherman of Connecticut, and Robert Livingston of New York. The other members of the committee believed Jefferson to be the one best suited to draft such a historic document. Jefferson was at first reluctant to take on such a task, but soon he took pen to paper and created a document which would be, in his words, an expression of the American mind. He succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. On July 3rd, discussion began on Jefferson's Declaration. In his original draft, Jefferson had condemned the slave trade in America. Southerners, however, insisted that this be removed. The issue of slavery would not be resolved for another 100 years. On July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress ordered the Declaration of Independence to be authenticated. John Hancock, President of the Congress, and Secretary Charles Thompson signed it. Copies were sent to all 13 colonies. On July 8th, independence was proclaimed in Philadelphia. The following day, it was declared in New York, and a statue of King George III was torn down. Celebrations were held throughout America. Upon unanimous approval of the Declaration, the Congress resolved that a final copy be officially inscribed on parchment with all the delegate signatures. On August 2nd, the official declaration was signed by John Hancock and 55 delegates of the newly proclaimed United States of America. Hancock's signature was by far the largest on the document. He wanted to make sure that King George could read it without the use of spectacles. Although independence had been declared, America was still at war with England. France had waited until America declared her independence and until the Americans achieved a major victory at the Battle of Saratoga before it offered her support in the fighting. When the weather turned cold, both sides stopped fighting and sought proper shelter. George Washington and 11,000 of his troops spent the winter of 1777 at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. It was a cruel and bitter winter for the men. With the shortage of medical supplies, many of them died of typhus and other diseases. Some even deserted. By the time they left Valley Forge in June of 1778, only 4,000 men remained. But these brave men were more determined than ever to win the war. It was ultimately, however, the combined effort of the French forces along with the American Army that assured the defeat of British General Cornwallis at Yorktown, Virginia. The Battle of Yorktown marked the final major confrontation of a war that had lasted 8 long years. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, although the Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the war, was not signed until 1783. America had finally won her independence.